Here you go. Wow. Bro. How's it going, everyone? My name is Adam and welcome back to Driven Nashville. I got something really cool and special for you guys today. This is a Gen II Solar Orange R8 with a BoostLogic twin turbo kit. Now this has about $200,000 worth of upgrades. Yes, you heard that right. It is absolutely ludicrous. This is one of the fastest cars in the entire country. Period. This is absolutely one of the fastest cars in Kansas City. This car is capable of making over 1,500 horsepower on ethanol gas. Unbelievable. Today, with the temperatures being about 40 to 45 degrees right now, we're not going to be able to get the full performance out of this engine. We're probably going to put around 1,100 horsepower to the ground at best. So you're not going to get the whole taste today, but you're going to be able to get at least a couple of appetizers in. And I really think that you're going to like this one, guys. This is something unbelievably cool. I've never been in a car that's had that much performance. The first time we hit 100? No. Really?
Yeah.
Jeez. This thing is a whole nother level of crazy. And unfortunately, we'll do a point of view drive. We'll do our best to let you experience it, but you're just not going to be able to ever really experience it unless you can be in the passenger seat or actually have a chance to drive it. But we're of course going to do our best. If you like the content, please subscribe, please share this with any friends. I'm going to bring Jeff, the owner, on in just a little bit. I traveled to Kansas City to meet with him. We've become really good friends. I really like the guy. He's very smart. He's going to tell you a little bit about what's been done to the car. So if you're interested in a BoostLogic kit or one of the other manufacturers of these R8, Huracan level performance V10 engine kits, he's going to help you out a lot. And if you're just a car guy, I think you might enjoy this too, right? So let's get into this and bring Jeff on and get his take on the car. All right, guys, this is Jeff, the owner. Jeff, thank you so much, man, for letting me come to Kansas City and just experience this incredible piece of machinery that you have created. And I do say created because this is not a stock R8. So give the folks a little consciousness on, what has been done to this vehicle. What is this thing about?
Yeah. So actually, originally the car's built by BoostLogic. Chase Lautenbach from Streetcar Takeover sent it off to them to have the original turbo system done to it. I bought it from him and promptly blew the transmission up. Yeah. The problem, the weak spot in these cars when you start putting that kind of horsepower through them is the transmission. It had a Pro Max clutch in it, but then I sent it back to BoostLogic. They ripped the transmission out and completely rebuilt it with full billet gear set and everything. So now the car is capable of putting the power down with a much better chance of having the transmission survive. So as you said, it's a BoostLogic twin turbo system. It's a stock motor.
It's stock motor?
Yeah, it's stock motor, which is unbelievable that the stock V10. No, the stock motor can hold together. It's usually, again, it's the transmission that's the weak part in these. The car is capable of about 1,600 horsepower the way it sits. It's got multiple maps in it because it runs on this Motec standalone engine management system. So I can run all the way from map 1 all the way to map 9 and at varying power levels in between. Currently on map 1. Map 1 is actually set for pump fuel, which is, even though I'm on ethanol right now, it's not actually running on it, which is good for about 850 horsepower. So if I hold my cruise control button down, I can change my map. I can go to map 2, which is the first map for ethanol. Map 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This goes all the way up to map 9. Map 9 is about 1,600 horsepower. Map 1 is, just to give you an idea, is 93 octane pump fuel at about 850 horsepower.
Oh wow, it's a big difference.
Yeah, and then map 2s through 9 are varying levels of whatever your ethanol content is. It runs on E85, but right now we're in winter mix, so E85 is about E67 here right now. So last night I dumped about 5-6 gallons of Ignite Red in it to bump that content up. So we're at about 75% ethanol content right now. So I'm safe for like map 3. If I go all the way to map 9, which is about 1,600 horsepower, you're going to be on full race fuel, you know, like Ignite Red.
Wow.
Yeah, you want the full content. And then, like I said, we just had the transmission built. It's all billet internals now. It's Dodson Promax clutch, their newest version, the 1 through 7 gear set, Dodson ring and pinion, billet axles, wave track differential, billet stubs. It's a fully built transmission. Everything that can be done to it is done, because I don't want to have that problem again.
I bet.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's a stock engine.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that it can handle
that
that kind of power is just
unbelievable.
insane.
I don't understand how that's possible with a
Absolutely
5.2
insane.
liter engine.
One of the best built engines, I think, on the planet from a performance sound. Audio, you know, you get that nasty,
Oh, it's
gnarly
so
pops.
organic.
And yeah,
So organic.
absolutely.
Got a cold start, guys? How much boost is this thing running on a map 3 today? Like, we running 20 pounds, 15 pounds, 18 pounds, you know?
I drive it. I don't know, man. I don't know what I don't
So
know.
you don't run a boost controller, which is interesting.
No, I don't really care. And I'll tell you why I don't care. Because BoostLogic knows what they're doing. Rob Harper tuned the car. They're not going to do anything to it that's going to blow it up. You know, these guys have gotten so good at it. There's so many shops making power out there right now.
Sure.
They're just one, and there's just so many. Horsepower is easy these days. You know, with standalone engine management systems and fuel control and timing control and all that, horsepower is easy. You know, being able to get it to the ground is a whole nother thing. You know, but I mean, you got 2,500 horsepower cars, you know, strolling the streets around these days, and they're dyno queens. Yeah, you're not putting 2,500 horsepower to the pavement. Right. No pavement is going to hold that kind of power, but they're capable of making it. You know,
that's unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, you're right though. I mean, it's so much power. Anything over half throttle, it's just breaking.
Oh yeah, this thing just rolling into it half throttle is just the torque. It just keeps coming, and it's like. Ludicrous is not a word for it. It's just crazy.
Right. You know, have you always been an R8 fanboy?
You know, it's not that I didn't love them. I did, but I originally wanted a Hurricane, and I started looking into them because they make such a great turbo platform with the all-wheel drive, the great motor, and I love the rowdy looks of the Hurricane. You know, it's got that classic Lamborghini over-the-top look.
It's a great looking car.
Yeah, it is. Beautiful car.
Same great engine.
Yeah.
Everything else is apples to apples.
Except, you know, I looked at a Performante, and when you start getting into a perf, you're, you know, in that upper, you know, like low to mid $300,000 range. Then you got to do all the mods to it. Yep. You know, so you're looking at a $420,000, $450,000 car. Yep. But then I was talking to a buddy of mine who he's into them. He's got a turbocharged V10, and he says you ought to look at an R8 because I'm 6'3", I'm a taller guy, and he said the interior on the R8 is much more accommodating to taller people. Yep. And he says you're going to love the headroom in it. The interior is nicer, and I started looking at them, and I started liking. When I see them lowered with the right wheels and everything, I love the beefy, meaty, you know, muscle car look to it.
It's a killer looking car.
And then I saw this car last year at last year's Street Car Takeover kickoff event that they have here in Kansas City, and Chase had it at the BoostLogic booth. I didn't know Chase at the time.
Sure.
And interesting story. I loved it. I was like, oh, I had a white R8 at the time, a 2020, but it was stock. And I said, that's the car for me. Man, I'd love to have that car. I love the color. I love the turbo kit in it. I always wanted that kind of power. About 6 months later, I see it pop up on Facebook for sale. Okay. And I called a local guy here, Boora. He's big in the car community here. He does car trading and dealing and everything. And I said, I'm interested in this car. He goes, that's funny because I'm good friends with the guy who owns it, Chase. And he says, I'll introduce you to. I owned the car 2 days later.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ain't getting financing for all the performance.
No. He made it easy on me. He lives in Omaha, and he says, I'll drive it down to you. And that weekend, he brought it down just like he said, and we did the deal. And he ended up with my R8, my white one, and I took this one. Yeah.
That worked out.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a cool story though. I mean, it's, you know, look, it's a Gen 2, but it looks as modern as anything on the road.
Oh yeah.
You know, these things are aging so incredibly well.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing about them. You can go over the top with a car to the point where you look back at it 20 years later.
Yeah, it looks gaudy.
Yeah, it looks gaudy.
I actually like this front end better than the new one.
Yeah, I do too. It's less complicated looking.
Is. Yeah.
The rear end, I like the rear end better too.
Yeah, can we pop the hood real quick and show the folks a little bit about
absolutely.
BoostLogic here and just
absolutely.
the engine bay, guys, on this car is as exotic, literally, as the exterior of the car. And by the way, he has the world's greatest license plate ever taxed. And if you didn't know, and you might want to tell folks, I actually found this really interesting. When you're in Kansas City, they charge you annually for property tax.
Yeah, you pay
on luxury items like this, right?
No, on any vehicle.
On any vehicle.
So as the higher the price of the vehicle, obviously your property tax goes up on it. The property tax on this every year when I get a plate on it is about $3,500.
Are you serious?
Every year.
Every year?
Every year for the pleasure of living in
ridiculous.
the state of Kansas. The state of Kansas says, oh, you have a nice car? Well, or you have any car. My pickup truck is $1,200 a year for a tag.
That is insane.
Yeah, so just on vehicle property taxes, I pay about $5,000 a year to the state.
Insane. All right, we'll pop the hood on.
Yeah.
I think you might have to turn the engine on.
Yeah, this thing gets funky sometimes. It doesn't want to pop unless I have the engine started.
Look at that car, guys. Is that a good looking car or what? Now, it's got a full PPF on it, which is why... Sounds like a hot rod. It literally sounds like a hot rod, man. It doesn't even sound like a V10. It sounds like a, you know, an old school V8, like Camaro or something.
You know, and usually really turbo systems, because they're exhaust driven, mute the exhaust down
like
on a car.
Yeah.
But this doesn't, man. It's still rocky and
so
gnarly.
What are we looking at? If you know, I'm a layman here, you know, when it comes to all this stuff. I mean, this is, guys, this is powder coated aluminum. I mean, this is like real deal. This isn't some plastic coated shit. I mean,
it's very factory really looking. Good. So the you can't see the turbo system from up here. It's behind the bumper here.
You can see a little.
You can see some of it. You can see the exhaust. There's the turbos there with the air intakes.
Yep.
Obviously, being exhaust driven, and this is a V10. There's one on either side.
Right.
The exhaust system comes right off the engine and spools them up. Then they feed into these intercoolers, which are water-cooled intercoolers.
Wow.
They got cores inside that, as the air flows through them, obviously turbo's compressing the air, heats the air up. So as you flow through these intercoolers, it allows the air to cool down, gets a denser air charge, mixes with the air-fuel mixture, goes into the plenums and down in the engine. So you can get a higher density of oxygen and, you know, air intake into the engine when you cool it down. So you're going to get more power, but it also prevents detonation issues because the air is cooler anyway. Those are billet plenums because the factory plenums can't handle the boost.
Sure.
When you start putting that kind of boost into them, you can either pop, they crack, or you can they leak like crazy, and you can't get consistent boost. Yeah, so they had to go with fully machined billet ones. Just the plenums they're $12,000 because the intricacy of the machine work that goes into them is pretty crazy.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a work of art in here. I can't, honestly, the fact that it's color matched so well.
Yeah, they said they had a real hard time with it. When they powder coated everything, getting powder coating to match the paint was very difficult. They had to do a lot of blending and playing around, and then when you bake it, it changes colors, so you don't know what it's going to look like till it's done. Yeah.
Jesus. Honestly, man, it's one of the best looking engines I've ever seen. Really?
Yeah, they kept it. They did a great job on the install. Everything looks factory.
It's amazing. Yeah,
the plumbing and the wiring and the wiring harness.
This does not look like an aftermarket 1,400 horsepower plus engine. No way.
No, and look, to be honest,
it's so clean.
Well, honestly, come on, when you're paying this kind of money too, you kind of expect that.
I would hope.
Yeah, you can't.
But I've seen a lot of, you know, junky high horsepower engines that don't look like that.
Yeah.
You know.
But you send a car off and you're dropping 120 on a turbo system, and then you drop, 70 into a transmission, and you're doing it in a car of this caliber. These shops like Underground and BoostLogic and Dallas Performance and Hefner and Sheepy, they know that their clientele they're not going to take something that looks ratty, and
sure.
It's got to be factory. It's got to run factory. Yep. And this thing does. When you're just trolling around, you leave it and drive and just troll around in it.
Yeah.
It's a little louder, but
Yeah, you would never know that it has the performance.
It drives like a factory car does. Yeah.
Other than the fact that this is very low and you do feel everything. I mean, it doesn't have that R8, GT vibe that the original one has.
Yeah.
Now, is there any other upgrades you've done? This is a carbon wing, right?
Yeah. So it's got the Vorsteiner wing, got a Vorsteiner front lip.
Okay.
I did a couple
aftermarket wheels. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a couple little details to it. Justin Tanner here at Tanner's Customs did. Painted the calipers for me to match the wheels.
Look at that. Now, if you guys are curious, he's running Nitto 888s, and then these are 245 fronts and 315 rears, which really isn't a lot of rubber for a car with this amount of performance, but it is all-wheel drive. So
yeah, you can't really fit. I don't think that's about as big a wheel as you're going to fit in there.
The carbon fiber, and as it's a bright orange color, it just really offsets so well. I mean, this is one of the best looking exotic cars I've ever seen. I really love it. And the fact that it's a Gen 2 is so surprising.
Yeah, 2018.
Just because a car is newer doesn't necessarily mean it's better. Like I actually like the old GTR 34s better than I like the new one, right? Yeah. You look at the original R35s, it looks better than the new one. They just announced today, right? So I like this car. I think it's going to age so damn well. There's just really not a bad angle on it.
No, it's mean. When you troll it, when you see it rolling, and you troll into a parking lot with it at night, and all the fast cars are there, and they hear those turbos whining, you kind of, it has a presence all its own.
It is one of the most loudest, rowdiest. It's the most organic turbo system I've ever heard. Because it redlines at what, almost 9,000 RPM.
Yeah.
So the frequency that it makes with 2 and at 5 and at 7, it's so amazing. And as far as the interior of this car goes, guys, I'll go ahead and share it with you. Now, this is not the Performance Plus package, and if you go and watch my other R8 review, which is Steve Palladino's Camaro R8's vehicle, and he still has that. That has the red color contrast stitching, but even though this thing absolutely looks incredible on the inside, it's so exotic, it's aged so well. I've always been a huge fanboy of just the TFT screen, the wheel, and everything from the shifter in this car. Audi just nails it. I mean, they just do an incredible interior, they always do. And then take a look here at the back, guys. This is something interesting. You see this? He's got a couple of other upgrades. So Jeff, what's going on back here? Obviously this
it's got a roll bar, and I've got a fire extinguisher attached to it just in case. You start putting,
that's pretty crazy.
Well, you got all that extra fuel lines in there, you got the hot turbo system and everything, and fire is a potential, and
sure.
You want to make sure you can protect your investment. If you can, a little minor fire, if you can get it out fast enough, you end up with minor damage.
Right.
But if you don't get it out, you end up with a totaled car,
Yeah,
so it's
smart.
just,
Have you had any, other than the transmission blowing up, have you had any major problems with it?
No, nothing.
Since you got it back and she's bulletproof. Right?
Yeah, nothing at all. I mean, everybody kind of knows in these cars, these V10 cars, the transmission is the weak spot. You start putting a lot of power through them, and every time you're on the throttle, you're rolling the dice. You never know what you're going to get. It could last a year. It could blow up next week. Right. So until you build the transmission out, and look, here's the other thing. This is the thing, especially if you drag race them. I have no intention of drag racing them. That hard launch, that 0 to whatever, that launch is what blows transmissions up, especially if you get wheel hop.
Yep.
You could dump $75,000 into a transmission, take it out in the first meet, blow it up, launching off the line. So this is a street car. This is when I go down to Mexico, we got a little extra time, take a weekend, roll down to Mexico.
Yep.
And
yeah, we're gonna go to Mexico today.
Yeah, we got a little extra time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We shipped the car out down to Mexico, and we're gonna do some special clips for you guys.
Yeah. But when this is definitely a roll race car. It doesn't have the tires for it. It doesn't have drag radials or anything like that.
Well, I hope anybody who checks out the video, likes the car. It's killer, man. It's absolutely killer. When I heard that you had a twin turbo R8, you don't really know what to expect. But when you actually get to sit in the car and get some of that butt dyno going on, it's something. So let's take this thing on a point of view drive and get some idea, maybe 20-30% of what this thing.
So obviously, because it's turbocharged, you want to make sure you've got the proper fuel in it. This runs on either E85 or pure ethanol.
Right.
So in order to make sure what your content is at, you hit the OK button on here, and if you watch the tachometer, it'll tell you what my current ethanol content is.
Right.
Right now, you can see it's about 7,400, which means I'm at 74% ethanol.
Wow.
Which is fairly good. Right now, because of winter time, we're running on winter blend. It's not really that high.
Right.
But I'm currently on map 1.
Incredible. It uses the stock TFT though.
Yeah,
I've never
so
seen anything like that before.
The Motec accesses the dashboard, and you can get a lot of information off of it.
Wow.
They can program through the Motec the different buttons on the steering wheel to do different things.
That's incredible.
So like the OK button here is also, like I said, when it's idling, it tells me my ethanol content. When I'm driving it, if I want anti-lag, that's what I hold down. So if I'm getting ready to race it, I downshift it, let's say to 3rd gear, get it up to about 5,500 RPM, let my foot off the throttle, hit the anti-lag button, floor it, and it will, then when I let the button off, that way you don't get any of that turbo lag.
Wow.
Yeah, and the other thing it does is if I go to map 0 and I hold the button, it's flamethrower mode. It makes it start throwing flame. When I hit the bounce it off the rev limiter, it throws like 3-foot flames out the back.
Yeah, we're gonna need a clip of that. That's amazing.
That when it's warmed up. So I'm gonna put it on map 3 right now.
Okay.
We're gonna have to be a little easy on the power because it's right now about 35 degrees out. So these tires are like hockey pucks. I just don't want to end up losing traction on it.
Nope.
But you'll see it drives pretty normal.
Otherwise picks up pretty well. Let's take a little point of view drive, guys. Hope the camera angle is okay. So this is a really low slug car and low roof line.
Feel the traction control was hunting all over the place. It's trying to keep the car on the road. The Motec traction control system is really good, but it can only, it does what it has to do to keep the tires on the ground. You can only expect so much from tires in this kind of weather.
Yeah, it's ludicrous. I really, I've never experienced anything like that.
And that was like rolling into it very casually. That wasn't just stomping on it. It would totally break the tires loose if I did that. It's in a 2.9 second range, 60 to 130, which is scooting.
It's scooting.
Yeah. But again, you could just drive it around like normal, and you can go anywhere in it. Go out to dinner in it. Air conditioning. We got the heater on now because it's cold. It has all the amenities. Pretty decent stereo.
Yep.
And then if you can drive it rowdy, it's rowdy, Yep.
It's been a busy day, so we're trying our best to do a couple of pulls just so you can experience what this car is. It's just hard because, Kansas is busy, apparently. But here you go. Wow. Bro. Damn.
Yeah, it's
a freaking spaceship.
It's still hunting for traction, and you got to be really cautious with it, especially when it starts banging gears. The Motec does a great job of trying to keep it under control, but it can only handle so much. It's just and that's a low power setting. That's just about 1,100 horsepower or so, right around in there. That's a relatively low power setting. When you start adding another 400 or 500 horsepower on top of that, and it's mind bending.
It moves. It really moves.
It does.
I mean, my head is like planted on that seat. You put a $100 bill in front of me, right? I couldn't.
Yeah. That old trick. Yeah. Yeah. This one would actually do it. This would actually do it.
Shoot.
Let's see if we can do the rolling anti-lag.
Yeah.
So you hit the button, let your foot off the throttle, nail it.
Oh my God! Stabilization control.
No, that wasn't the stabilization control. What caused that to go off So what happens is because this wasn't a performance model, instead of having a wing on the back, it had the little wing that's built in that pops up when you hit 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So on this, when you hit 100 miles an hour, the computer tries to make the wing go up, but the wing has been disabled because I've got the Vorsteiner wing on it. So it says, wait, something's wrong. It's not popping up like it's supposed to because we disabled the wing.
Is that the first time we hit 100? No. Really?
Yeah.
Jeez. That's amazing. That is amazingly addicting. I mean, as a car guy, golly, I love it.
It gets it.
That'll get your palms sweaty. Woo!
Yeah, it does.
I've never experienced anything like that. Anything like that, as far as just straight line performance. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's designed. That's all this is good for now, really. I can't track day this car. I can't, go road racing it. And that's what I wanted. I wanted just big balls, rolling into a car meet and just anybody want to run and just, realize there's some fast cars in Kansas City. There's a few GTRs here that are definitely we're gonna get into it this summer, and we'll see who's got the throne. But this will roll with just about anything on the street.
A hard time believing anything can be faster than what that is.
Oh yeah,
lag just hits.
Well, this car is faster than that. Like I said, we've got another 400 or 500 horsepower on tap.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
How that feels so unbelievably fast.
And that's not. I'm telling you, I haven't had it on map 9. I haven't had it at full power. I had it. The highest I've done is map 7, and I did a 3rd, 4th, and going into 5th, I let off, and I cried uncle and said that's just too fast, man.
Well, if you made it this far into the video, guys, we really appreciate you watching. This car. This car is crazy, but if you're a car guy and you've got the cheddar and you can deal with all of the little things you're gonna have to deal with when you get into this level of power and performance and finickiness, you gotta warm up the engine right, you lose any warranty right, any issues you gotta diagnose and figure out and ship the car. But if you can get past all that and you can actually get something that's this dialed in, where the transmission is dialed in, the engine's dialed in, the mapping's dialed in right, the suspension, the brakes, and you get it to the point where you can just enjoy it like Jeff gets to on a daily basis, it's truly awesome because there's just nothing else on the market anywhere near this level of ludicrous performance, right? So we really hope that you got to experience a little bit of that with the point of view drive. Hope you enjoyed listening to Jeff's thoughts about the vehicle and the kit. And if you're interested in this content, we make it weekly. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Share this with any friends or family that you think might enjoy the content. If you have any questions about the BoostLogic kit, go ahead and drop them below in the comments. I'll go ahead and let Jeff know if I can't answer it myself. Hey, so-and-so asked about this. Could you help him out? And he'll go ahead and do his best to answer them for you. Above all, though, we really appreciate you watching, and we will catch you on the next one. The next shot is a drone flyaway, and have a great rest of your day.